Good morning, Mr. Bowers. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, sir. How are you?
Good, sir. Can you tell us your reaction when you found out that Peter Penashue has resigned and he has blamed an inexperienced volunteer in filing with Elections Canada return, that would be you, and that he was unaware of the inaccuracies in the return? What was your reaction?
First shock, because I didn't know he was going to resign. I had no idea that that was, somewhere back when they said, "Oh, this could be one of the cases," but I never even dreamed that it would come true, or even thought it would come true. And so when it happened yesterday, it was like, "Oh my God!" And then, of course, they say that he was an inexperienced campaign marketer. Well, that was me, and there's not much I could do about that one. But the sheer fact that I did not want to see him resign. I thought he was doing an extremely good job, and I had fully supported him. I still support him, actually. But I thought he was doing a good job for the riding, and really we were making good progress. And I had hoped that this thing would just get a report out there that that we could deal with whatever the disagreements we have with Election Canada, and that it would be over.
What did you make of in this volunteer, and that he was unaware of the inaccuracies in the return? First of all, do you consider yourself inexperienced?
Well, I've been around for a long time up here, but my exposure to the Election Canada Act was limited. Okay, I only had probably a couple of hours exposure to the act prior to this, and of course then I took the act during the campaign, and when I was filling out the returns, wherever I could get any directions, I would ask for them. But we set it up very quickly. We only had 22 days to run this campaign, and in the beginning it was it was very difficult getting set up.
But so you didn't know the rules of a campaign?
Other than what was explained to me over 2.5 hour interview, and the fact that what literature came in from Election Canada,
right?
Whatever I could read in between because in the beginning I was going to be the official agent, and we were trying to get a campaign manager. And then after about 4 or 5 days in the campaign, we couldn't get a campaign manager. I said, "Okay, I'll go campaign manager, and we'll get another official agent." And then we tried a couple of days for that. So then there was nobody. So I took on both positions.
But when in the statement that Mr. Penashue released, he says that he was unaware of the inaccuracies in the return. As far as I understand it, after the campaign, he's supposed to sign off on all the expenses. Did you go over the expenses with Peter Penashue at the end of the campaign, and did he sign off on them?
He did. He signed the returns. I can't. We did not go through them in detail. No.
So he signed it without going through it.
Well, just the fact that we went down through it. I didn't say John Jones. I spent this much money with John Jones or something. Or we talked about that throughout the campaign. About the advertising, the budgets, and all that kind of stuff. We sat down and did that as quickly as we could.
Right, but when you went over it with him, and every candidate does this, they go over and he's got to sign his returns to make sure everything is above board there. Did you go through this with Mr. Penashue and say, "Look, here's the returns, here's what we're going to submit, there shouldn't be any problems"? Did he walk through it, or did he just sign it and that was it?
He went through it, and what happened was, just remember now, when the return left here, we were $2,100 below budget. Here was all the receipts, the listing of receipts. We went down through those because I wanted him to know who gave us the money. And there's my expenditures, and I made sure that he had He had all of his expenses in that he incurred on behalf of the campaign, and I went through it like that type of thing. I didn't go through it and say, well, check number 220 was for such and such. But I did go down through it like this and explain the return, and then I said, look, right now I'm showing $2,100.50, or $2,150 that I'm under cap, and there's a little bit of inventory left over, but I never put it in there, and I signed it off, and he signed. I said, we went through it that way.
So, what do you make of the fact that now you've heard Peter Penashue has paid back $30,000? What do you make of this $30,000?
I can't even comment on it because I don't know where it came from. I didn't see what. I have yet to see a report from Election Canada outlining what makes up that $30,000, so I can't even comment on it.
I mean, you went through the returns. You said when you went through your returns, you said you were $2,100 and under the cap.
That's all I've ever signed off on.
So where would this $30,000 come from in your view? I mean, you know the numbers.
The only thing I could think of was possibly, there was some argument about a corporation check there from Pentagon, which was out in the news, and there was I had some disagreements with Provincial Airlines about some outstanding bills, which I thought I should have got some credit notes. They may have took that as a donation. I'm not speculating because I just don't know.
Well, you mentioned this company, Pentagon, and it'd been in the news, and of course CBC has covered that the Penashue campaign, and you accepted a donation on a corporate check from Pentagon, which violates Elections Canada rules. You're not allowed to accept a corporate check. Why did you accept that check?
Because what the circumstances under which that, you must remember, they're located in St. John's. They were trying to get a donation into us before the deadline. There were 6 guys involved. They were collecting money from all 6 of them. And I was under the impression one of them wasn't in the office at that day. But he had called in and said, okay, I'm going to bring my thing in. So they said, okay, we could put it on a company check, make out the receipts to the individuals. It was the same thing as if you went and collected money at Christmas to buy a gift or buy a gift for somebody. You went around and collected it, and then rather than go to a store with 5 or 6 things, you made it a company check and went and
I appreciate that, but did you know at the time that violated Elections Canada rules? And did Mr. Penashue know that check was coming in?
He didn't know the check was coming in because he had written a letter to Pentagon saying that we do not accept corporate donations. We got that on file, and that was filed with Election Canada. And we do have a letter from the company saying that, yes, we give you a check, but here are the individuals that the receipt should be made out because this check comprises those donations.
When did you and Mr. Penashue realize that upon accepting that check the rules had been broken? Do you remember the date that he knew that the rule had been violated there?
Probably when it came out in the news in July.
I understand that there were other corporations that may have donated as well. Did that proceed?
Just remember, just get back to the finish after bit. When I mentioned this to Mr. Penashue, I didn't say we accepted a Pentagon check. I said some of the gentlemen that work with Pentagon sent us a donation.
Right, but when he signed off on the returns after the election, did he see that it was a Pentagon check?
No, he wouldn't have seen the Pentagon check because he wouldn't have. That was deposited as soon as I got it, and there was a deposit slip made out with Pentagon. He would not have seen the deposit slips. He would have seen the receipts from the individuals.
I understand, and I know you haven't seen.
So he was unaware of that thing until it came out in the news in July.
I understand that there may have been other corporations that donated to the campaign under that same, just like Pentagon, that corporations also gave some other money. Can you recall, did the campaign accept any other donations from other corporations at all?
See, the answer would be no, because what it is, if you came in and some of the gentlemen up here, some of the contributors up here, may have a limited company that they work with all their life and have their own name on it, so they would bring in their check from the company. But again, the same thing, here's my donation, make a receipt to me, here's my social insurance number and my address. And that's the way it would work. We told every possible person that was making money, and we sent out emails, and we made phone calls, and we told everybody we knew that we do not accept corporate donations. Both myself and Peter made an agreement right at the beginning of the campaign that we would keep everything above board. And we told people point blank. And if some slipped through, it slipped through like unintentionally. Just remember, at the last 4 or 5 days, all hell was breaking loose because we were winning, and people were getting in there, and people were coming around. There was crowds around, and you were trying to get your money in the bank and as fast as possible because you had, I had something like 17 scrutineers on that.
Right. So are you saying, like, in the rush, are you saying that the system kind of broke down a bit at the end there?
Well, it would have to be, because I was the system at the time. I was the official agent and the campaign manager and whatever. And so if I took money and put it in the bank, and then I realized that, okay, oh my God, that John Jones may give me a check that was John Jones Limited, and I just put it in as John Jones.
So you won't be surprised if there might be other corporate donations that are revealed when this report comes out that you may not have caught.
If they are very limited. Put it that way, because of the fact that and they were accepted unintentionally. They were not accepted as a corporation check. They were accepted as individual checks.
So, tell me about. There was also a lot of news about the flights that Mr. Penashue may have taken that were inappropriate to places like, I think it's called Black Tickle. Is that a place?
Yes.
So flights like Black Tickle, there's no road access to a place like that. Some say, and you know your opposition said, he took money from some places and he took discount flights that he should have paid for out of his campaign to get access to these remote places where there's no road access, which gave him a distinct advantage in the campaign. He only won by 79 votes. Can you explain how he took these flights and if he paid for these flights?
Basically, we had a contract with Provincial, and they made the travel arrangements. And when they went up and they tried, we were taking flights that were as cheaply as possible, so to live within the contract. And then at the end, we had overran the contract, and there were 2 charters that I disagreed with, because I thought he had taken a seat on a cargo plane, and we got charged a charter rate. And the one to Black Tickle you mentioned, that was taken very late at night, and I thought it should be a half price, and it was full price. Now, if they had given us the discounts and the credit notes that we thought about, I mean, yes, we would have still been over, but there was sufficient money in the account to pay it.
Mr. Bowers, just to clarify something, did your campaign and did you sign a contract with Provincial Airlines? Did you sign the contract after the campaign and then backdate that contract? How did that work?
Excuse me? What was the question?
I'm just trying to get at the contract you had with Provincial to take the campaign to places like Black Tickle. Did you sign a contract, the actual signature of the contract with Provincial Airlines? Did you sign that contract after the campaign, as many say, and then essentially backdate the contract?
No, I didn't sign the contract for that one. I had a fellow in place to do that contract.
But was it signed after it was signed after the campaign?
I chased it down and got it after the campaign. When it was signed, I really just couldn't tell you.
Right, but was it backdated?
Not to my knowledge, because the date that I agreed to the contract, Somebody else went out and wrote it up, and I had to get it written up to cover because it was a contract.
Right.
It was very early in the campaign, because I had to get a contract in place for travel because we just didn't have any money back then. Nobody believed we were going to win this election, you see.
Right, but the question is, did someone jig the books on that? You basically got a discount rate on the travel expenses, and then you sign the contract after as which would break the rules because you have to do that before and allows your candidate and your campaign to essentially fly everywhere on a discount rate.
When the actual contract was signed, I'm not aware of it because I had a person to do that for me, but I knew I had to chase the contract down to get it. I didn't have it physically in my hand the day after that we made the contract.
Because
there was a gentleman on the campaign with me who was in charge of travel, and he was responsible to do that, and he did it. And after it was finished, I didn't have the contract, so I had to chase it down, and I did get it after the election was over. But the date it was actually signed, I couldn't tell you. I still can't tell you.
There has been some question about what you...
Sure, they're always going to say that because we must remember we're dealing with a short period of time, and we had a lot of work to do, and some of the stuff had to go by the wayside, and the niceties of getting a contract on that particular day by 5 o'clock in the evening sometimes just went through the loops.
But you appreciate, sir, that in a campaign, if things go by the wayside, as you say, that could violate the rules, and some are suggesting that's what's cost Mr. Penashue his job.
I don't think that was as serious as they made it sound, because the fact that everybody knew, or I thought everybody knew the contract was in existence. It's just that we just didn't have the piece of paper in our hands, and I had to track it down afterwards. It's like the boys came back and asked me for 5 or 6 invoices. Well, I went back to the suppliers and got the invoices. It's the same process.
Right, but you appreciate that backdating, getting invoices after the fact, may look like it's a backdating to make tracks.
Not really, because if I buy something off you on the 15th of March, and you don't send me an invoice, or the invoice gets lost, and I go back to you in April and say, look, on the 15th of March, I bought a vehicle off you. You've got to give me an invoice for that date. It's not like I intentionally did anything. The thing was there. We knew it, and I intentionally went after a contract because of the fact that we were told that we had to keep our travel costs down right at the beginning, because one of the things that hurt you in the campaign was you had to get around. And logistics in Labrador, let's remember, in Labrador, you just can't drive from Nain to Lansaluen because there's no roads.
So I have a couple of minutes left, so I just want to quickly jump through a couple of things. Did you know that taking Peter Penashue's wife on some of those plane trips was and charging those expenses to the campaign when they should have been personal expenses? What do you make of that? Was that a violation of campaign rules?
No. As far as I was concerned, travel within the riding was a personal expense. And nowhere along the line did I know, and until well after the campaign, and I think it was up on a review by Election Canada before I found out that if you take a second person on the plane, it becomes a campaign expense. Before that, I read the act, and I asked a few inquiries of a few people I should know, and I was told that charters were personal expenses, and I treated them as personal expenses. And because there's no other way to get around.
But she didn't have to come on the trip. That's the point.
No, she didn't have to go, but I would like to go because the candidate felt more comfortable with her having his wife with him. He was going into areas which was not even his cultural base, and what else have you, and having his wife was like we were helping him get on the campaign. He's a very shy man. The hardest thing I had with Peter Penashue as a campaigner was the fact that he's got great difficulty going up and shaking your hand and introducing himself. He's a very shy individual for a politician. He's not that outgoing.
But if his wife is, so therefore his wife was used as part of the campaign to help the candidate, right? That would be a fair assessment then.
No, she was not a campaign worker. I did not look at her as a campaign worker.
But she helped the candidate. That's my point. I mean, whether she was a worker or not, if you're having her to help the candidate, that would be the issue. Wouldn't that be the issue for Elections Canada?
That was an argument point. I was saying no, she wasn't. I was saying that we had to, Peter. She went along with Peter just to, help out with his dress, his getting out to make sure he's getting from, having a cup of coffee, that type of thing. I did not tell her what to do or where to go or anything like that. And if I didn't tell her, she wasn't a part of the campaign. She was free to go. She's a well-known artist in her own right, so she's used to being out there.
A couple last things. You were appointed to the Canada, Newfoundland, Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board by the government with the support of Peter Penashue. Why did you just resign from that?
What I resigned for, because when I was on the board, every time I was actually contemplating resigning for quite some time now. Because when I picked up our newspaper articles, when I turned on the TV, and the CNLOPB came up, they would say, and the member of that board from Labrador is Reg Bowers, who was Peter's campaign manager, as if I did not do another damn thing for the last 65 or 66 years. And it was always a pain. So there.
So...
and so when he resigned, I said, okay, I'll go from there, and I should just get out of the way. That way to be one less person to deal with.
So you gave up a fair bit of salary. How much salary did you give up by resigning there?
Very little. We're only getting a per diem. I wasn't on salary with CNLOPB. I was on a per diem basis for each board meeting.
How much was that?
Well, you go on the website, you can see what that is. It's $300 for each meeting.
Mr. Bowers, when you hear this now Peter Penashue has resigned. Essentially, from his statement, the fingers all point at you, that you're the man that made the mistakes, that you're the man that's responsible for this, that basically the improper, ineligible expenses, all the rule breaking comes down to you, and that basically he's going to run again because he says he wants a clean sheet, but Reg Bowers is the guy holding the bag here. What's your response to that?
Well, until I don't need anybody to tell me, Peter and otherwise, if I made mistakes, I don't mind owning up to them. If I made errors, I don't mind owning up to them. If they're done, I did not do it out of any intentional. I have no problems with owing up to anything I did, and until I get the election report, I can't even comment on what was done. So I have no comment until the report comes out. But if the report comes out,
well, has the party not spoken to you? Has the Conservative Party called you to clear up these expenses? Have they tried to get an explanation? Have you tried to contact anyone about this $30,000 that Mr. Penashue has paid back?
I don't know where the first time I heard the $30,000 figure was yesterday.
So have they? When was the last time they contacted you?
Last contact I had was when I went through it with the person that took over from me last end of October, early November.
And that's the last time you talked to the party. What about Elections Canada? When was the last time they contacted you?
Last time they contacted me?
Yeah.
Oh, last August. July.
Last July. So you haven't been contacted by the Conservative Party of Canada or Elections Canada about any of this for months?
Well, like I said, the lady that took over from me came in and we went through all the paperwork again in October. But other than that, no, that's it.
So in October, you went over all the paperwork. You talked to the forensic auditor. What was it, about 121 checks, 72 receipts? That's what you went over?
Yes. and whatever was there.
And you didn't see anything improper there?
Like I said, well, the things that we mentioned earlier about it was questionable items like the Pentagon check and what else have you. But I went down through the invoices for the travel. This is the stuff that was given to Election Canada last year, and it was CBC put it on the TV in July. And I was surprised that they would even put it on TV because the audit wasn't even finished then. So I thought that was very unfair of Election Canada to put it out to public before they even had the final audit done. So,
Mr. Bowers, how do you feel now? Now Peter Penashue has resigned. He's decided to pay back $30,000, which you say you can't figure out what the money's for. You're in the middle of this. You haven't seen any report from Elections Canada on this. How do you feel right now?
I feel disappointed that he felt it was need to resign. I really do, and I feel I would dearly love to sit down with somebody and go down through it and say, listen, this is what you did, and I could say yes or no or indifferent, and this is a violation of the Act. Where in the Act is a violation? I went through the Act, and I went through what an audit with Deloitte at the beginning. I had an audit by Election Canada started in late November up until May. I did send a letter out to him in May saying, look, boys, if there was any errors or omissions, I apologize for them because I had 2.5 hours exposure to the Election Canada Act plus whatever I read. And then I had another, of course, the forensic auditor was in. So whatever is there is, I guess, a difference of opinion between us and Election Canada.
When he runs in a by-election, will you work for Peter Penashue again to help him get reelected?
Will I work for him?
Would you work to help him get reelected now?
I'll definitely support him. I think the man did an excellent job. Listen, Peter got in there. We had a campaign promise that we would bring down the $1 billion loan guarantee, which he did. He had a road campaign. He had $85 million for the Southern Road. He campaigned that he would get some money in for the Wabash Airport. He had an announcement on that 2 weeks ago. He campaigned that he would visit Black Tickle and try to understand the problems that's in that community. He went there twice. He brought the Atlantic Caucus in here the first time ever. Because if you can't take the problems to Ottawa, bring the people from Ottawa in so they can understand.
Right.
And then the man in 2 years did such a fantastic job. It was he talked about the housing up north. He had the Minister of Housing in and the Minister of Native Minister in. So he did an exceptional job in 2 years. So I mean, as far as his track record is concerned, you can't ask for any better. So you got to support the guy like that.
But mind you, he says in his statement, Mr. Bowers, there was ineligible donations. That means there's not just one, not just the Pentagon one. He says there's more than one ineligible donation, that the rules were broken more than once.
Okay, when an election report comes down, I'll find out what they are and I'll comment on that time. Right now, you're telling me that I'm hearing something else in the news. You haven't got anything from Election Canada, and I haven't got anything from Election Canada. So we're speculating on what's there. And until I find out for sure, I can't comment.
Mr. Bowers, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Well, appreciate it, and I think thank you for being fair in your interview. I appreciate your time, and like I said, I hope Peter all the best in the future, and I won't do anything to hurt his chances to get elected. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.